Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. What an amazing morning.
Yes, it
Amazing
is.
morning. Am I loud enough? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, good. Welcome to everybody in the sanctuary, and welcome to everybody who is live streaming with us today. And just to give you
The car alarm went off.
it's okay, I'm talking, but don't pay any attention to me.
We're gonna try to stop it.
Did it stop?
It stopped.
Okay, all right.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning to you too. Just to let you know, for all of you that are here, last week we had 90 people on live stream with us.
Oh.
So, yeah, let's give ourselves a hand for that, yeah. And we thank you, all of you that are out there on your couches drinking coffee in your pajamas. We thank you. When you start showing up, we can start going to 2 services, one at 9 and one at 10:45. So just think about that. Wouldn't that be great? That was my goal before COVID hit, but it's kind of like sitting on the sidelines now. So first of all, I would like to welcome everybody here for the first time. And we have Sheila and Erin, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, they're right there.
Welcome.
Okay, and then, is it Adim and Swarma? It's for me? Yeah, they were here 2 weeks ago when I wasn't here, but welcome, glad to have, I heard all wonderful things about you and the babies. And your son was so great, just sitting there so quiet, so welcome. Hi. Okay. And so glad to see Sherry and Mark with us today.
Yeah.
They've been taking care of family and Sherry's mom, and we've had them all in prayer. So we're so happy to see you too. So it's just a great morning for all of these things. So let us do our opening song. And isn't it perfect today if we only had love? And you know I love that song. Oh, before we do that, do you notice anything different today?
Yes.
Cheers.
The chairs, right?
You're down on the floor.
And yes, I don't want to be up there. I don't want to be up there. I want to be here with you guys. And remember what we spoke about last week of being a little bit more interactive, and we're a small group, so let's communicate together. And I don't have to be the only one speaking in here. So that's why I'm down here. And I didn't wear heels today, but I think you can still see me. But I'm gonna, my next lifetime, I'm gonna be much taller. Okay, let's stand and sing our opening song, If We Only Have Love. So appropriate for the morning. And Josh, bring in that choir.
If we only have love, then tomorrow will dawn, and the days of our years will rise on that morn. If we only have love to embrace without fears, we will kiss with our eyes, we will sleep without tears. If we only have love, with our arms open wide, then the young and the old will stand at our side. If we only have love, nothing's falling like rain, and the parched desert earth will grow green again. If we only have love for the hymn that we shout, or the song that we sing, then we'll have a way out. If we only have love, We can reach those in pain. We can heal our wounds. We can use our own hands. If we only have love, we can melt all the guns and then give the new world to our daughters and sons. If we only have love, then Jerusalem stands, and then death has no shadow, then on the foreign lands. If we only have love, we will never run down. We'll be tall as the pines, be the heroes around. If we only have love, then we'll only be men, and we'll drink from the grave to be born once again. Then with nothing at all, but the little we are, we'll have conquered all time, all space, the sun, and the stars.
I don't know about you, but that song just gives me goosebumps and raises the hair on my neck.
Yeah.
So the notes from the river today are not happy ones. And last night at 8:45, ambulances pulled up in front of my home and fire department. And as I ran outside and ran up the stairs to my neighbor, my new neighbors that I fell in love with, Hittisham and Delilah. And Hittisham was with the paramedics, and they took him down to the ambulance to do EKGs and to do to check his heart. And they said everything was fine, and we were going to take him to Aurora down the road. And then when, of course, Delilah was a wreck and said, "Will you please drive me?" Of course I would. And we went to the hospital, and they said he's not here. They sent him to Grafton. So I jumped in the car, and unfortunately I couldn't speed because of the weather, and we went to Grafton. We were there about 45 minutes, and we were told nothing, and then we heard cardiac arrest, on third floor cardiac arrest. And Delilah's a doctor, so she folded immediately because she knew what that meant. Then we waited another hour and a half, and finally they came and got her. And then their leader, their Muslim, the imam came, because he's also our neighbor. And we heard trauma in 252, second floor, and that's where they had moved him to. And then they came and got us and said that he did not make it. And as you know, I met them only 3 or 4 months ago and totally fell in love with them, and they're the most lovely people, and stayed with them until early mornings. They wanted me to leave, not leave, to be with the body the whole time, but I had to come to you guys, so I did that. But if you could keep that family in your prayers this week along with me, that would be so wonderful, because yeah, I just made a new friend, and he's already gone on to, and they believe, as part of most of us believe, that there is life after, and so that's where they are right now. So I just wanted to share As we always do news from the river or notes from the river in the morning, I wanted to share that from the river as well. So having said that, thank you for your support always, you guys. For me, that is great. And at our Unity Spiritual Center, we do have a vision and a mission. And if you would repeat that with me, our spiritual community of love, peace, and acceptance, creating an inclusive spiritual community through fellowship, service, and community outreach. And now I would like to ask Martin Platnoff, our prayer chaplain, if he would come up and read the daily word for the day, light the Christ candle, and light the candles for the flames of faith for me. Martin, if you would please.
Morning.
Morning.
Morning. We're doing divine order today. I trust the process of divine order. In nature, divine order is all around me. I notice the changing seasons, the phases of the moon, even the daily movement of the sun across the sky. Every part of the natural world follows an orderly pattern. My life may not be as predictable, but it too is unfolding in an orderly way. I remember this when I begin to feel impatient, that my aspirations feel far away, or the help of inspiration I need to go forward will never come. At moments like these, I pause and affirm divine order. I focus my attention on what is before me and release my concern about the future. I do not succumb to feelings of frustration or the temptations to rush the process of manifestation. I feel my connection to God and relax as I trust in divine order. And from Ecclesiastes, for everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. In Unity, we refer to this as the Christ candle. It represents that divine spark within each of us. It is our connection to everything and to all. It is the energy by which we live, move, and have our being.
And as we begin the flames of faith, we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all people, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experiences, which we honor here today. As Martin lights the first candle, we light a candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous people, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge and action and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness and the path of love. We light a candle today, especially for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. And we catch up as we light a candle for the universal religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And the last candle that we light a candle for all those who are yet unaware of the power and the presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we're holding for them at this center, and for all religions unnamed here today.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Now let's prepare to go into the silence for a recess away from all the busyness and activities and distractions. We allow ourselves to be supported comfortably in our chairs and breathe deeply and peacefully, breathing in life, light, and exhaling all that we no longer need. As we gently move our attentions towards our center, to the altar within, it is here in this sacred place that we can feel the divinity, the spark of the divine which resides within us. We feel the safety of this connection, even though the outer world may give us many causes for fear, anxiety, and other negative thoughts. We know that in this connection with the divine, we are safe. Rest for a while in this safety, in the silence. we know that in this divine connection, that whatever challenges life may give us, we are still protected by the connection with the divine. It is always there, and it never fails. Now I invite you to gently return your attention to the here and now, remembering the connection. And so it is.
So as we continue on our journey with the 12 conditions of a miracle, do we have all of them up there? No.
Yes.
We do, can I have them? 'Cause I don't know. So for those of you that haven't been here for every week, the first one was emptiness. And that was about what Martin was speaking about during meditation, to go to that still, quiet place within. And to get to that place, we have to become aligned with the world that is around us. And going from there, it's asking, and asking isn't asking for things. Asking is about preparing yourself for prayer. And how do we go about doing that? And we do that from the emptiness and aligning ourselves with spirit. God, I love that sound. Should I go play? I'm a baby. So, wouldn't that be something? So, and then maximizing is it's about using everything that we have at our disposal and making it work for us. And if we have excess to share and give out and allow it to go out into the universe, because only by maximizing can we have things come back into us. And then today we're going to speak about, actually you're not, I am. I'm going to speak today about giving and then being grounded. And I'm going to just tell you something about being grounded. When I was looking through some things about being grounded, one of the things that came up was about being grounded in a storm. And last night, having offered to drive in a storm to Grafton, at first I was a bit terrified because it was really bad. But then I remembered it. See, I always hope that when you leave here, you get something that you can take home with you. Well, just preparing this gave me something that allowed me to get to Grafton and get home and I kept going, I'm just grounded. I'm grounded in a storm, and grounded in a storm, that means we can get through it. So I jumped ahead a little bit, but it's really on my mind, obviously. So anyhow, let's start with giving. A priest serving in an area of Mexico was concerned about a garbage dump that was developing on the outskirts of town. And there were many, many starving and dirty people there, and they were scavenging for food or anything else that they could possibly use. So one day the priest decided that he was going to make 125 dinners and take them to these people so that they could have a good meal. So to his dismay, though, 450 people showed up. So, well, you need an attitude of faith with that, right? Even I would get a little, I was only planning on 8, and now I have 22. Okay, so, but to his amazement, here's what happened. Everybody had enough to eat. And the priest actually was able to hand out food in the empty bags from what he brought to give to the people to take leftovers. Now, some of them actually ran home to whatever home was dumped off the food and came back with the empty bags, and they got more food to take home. And there were still leftovers. So the priest gathered the food and brought it to the children's orphanage. Guess what happened? Remember, we're interactive now. Guess what happened?
More food.
More leftovers, absolutely right, more leftovers. So he took them then to the second orphanage. So it seemed that, and this is true of life, that as the gift of food or the gift of what we're giving is released and freely given, it miraculously becomes multiplied. So then condition 5, giving, brings us back to what? The fish and the loaves of bread that we've talked about through this series. And it's the same thing as with prayer. What are the feelings you have when you give? Remember we talked last week, what are the feelings about prayer? That you have to have the feelings and passion behind prayer for it to come to fruition. Well, the same with giving. What are the feelings that you have when you give a gift? What are the feelings? And you know that thing, give until it hurts? No, never give until it hurts. You should always feel good when you're giving. And Charles Fillmore, that's the man who started Unity. I'm a little nervous today, so from lack of sleep, and so be with me. Charles Fillmore said that it's necessary to give freely, and we are also to what? Receive freely. Right, receive, because the law of receiving includes giving. Fillmore explains to us that the only way our supply continues is through giving, and giving cheerfully. Giving cheerfully. So the law of compensation then falls into this too, because according to Fillmore, he says the law of the universe, it's not subject to personal demands. A little there, that's better. So the personal demands, and that goes back to last week of asking, we're not demanding this for myself for personal use, but we are knowing what is best for us, what is for our highest being. So in the Bible, what does Matthew say? Freely you receive, freely you give, right? Freely you receive, freely you give. So the miracle then of the loaves and fishes happened the same way. It's the flow of giving that increases the gift of giving. No, it's the more we give out, the more we put out, it's a continuum, the more that comes back to you. The more that comes back to you. You know, I was thinking about something the other day, and somebody needed something, so I just made sure that they had that thing, what they needed. And then the next day I get a letter in the mail, you know that I had that minor car accident, no big deal. But the letter said that because I wasn't at fault, my insurance company was going after the other insurance company to get my $500 deductible. So see, I gave out, and then the universe pours a vacuum. So what happened? Right away, I have this in the mail, and this always happens to me, always, always, always. And it's a wonderful thing, by the way. I love it. I love it. And I don't plan it. I don't say, okay, if I give this, something good's going to happen. It just happens. And I think I've told you before, in my own church, they called me the money magnet. So that's, so stick with me, guys. So here's a different story about the loaves and the fishes, though. So presumably in the Gospel of John, a small boy is the source of the fish and the loaves. And remember, we're doing translations from the Arabic and from Greek. So there's different translations going on through this passage of the 12 conditions. So this young boy was hungry as everyone else, but out of his kind heart and his generosity, the young boy shared what he had. He shared what he had with the innocence and trust of a child. So he releases his precious resource freely giving in good faith to a higher good. So as in the intent of prayer, the feeling behind both is the gift. And the gift is the answered prayers. Everybody was hungry. The gift of giving and receiving. And for me, there's a great joy in both the giving and receiving. Now, I know many of you are very comfortable giving, but I also know some of you are not comfortable receiving. And to us who like to give, that's annoying. Because it's like when you go, oh my God, you shouldn't, I can't accept that. Don't do that to people. Like Rodney yesterday, I brought him a plant. What does Ed said? Oh, he kills plants. Why? Talk about killing the moment. Don't water it once a week only. Let it drain out of those holes in the bottom. But it was so funny because I rooted that plant when I knew he was moving. I made cuttings from my plants. So I did all of this work to root the plant. Anyway, I'm sorry. I had to share that story. But it's so, they had good wine and cheese. So anyhow, so where was I? So it's, when somebody gives you something, say thank you. Thank you. Just say thank you. Don't give it back. Don't ask to exchange it. If it's something that you're just never going to use, you can save it for a hostess gift. Just remember who gave it to you and don't give it back to them. But you know what I'm saying. Receive graciously. You all give so much. You give of your time and your talent and your tithe to this community. But when we're going to do something nice for you, say thank you. Thank you. Does that make sense?
Yes. Oh,
yeah? You gotta all get better than that, right? Okay. So here's what you have to remember though. Generosity is a form of compassion. And generosity seeks no return. And that's another important thing about giving. Just because I give you something doesn't mean you have to keep a list and, oh my God, now I got to give her something back. No, you give it to that person. You move it forward as life shows you what somebody needs. There's no keeping track. I remember in the old days when I first got engaged, right after high school, of course, and I was engaged to an Italian man whom I did marry. But after the engagement party, my Italian mother-in-law wanted to know who gave what and wanted a list. And I said to my mother, because we were Irish, well, I'm half, but anyhow, Italian too, but I said to my mother, why would his mother want this list? She said, oh, they keep track. They keep track, and they get insulted if somebody didn't give the right amount of the gift. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm not giving her a list, and I never did. So don't keep track. It's not necessary. So, okay. So are we good with that? We understand that giving and receiving, and it comes from where?
The heart.
The heart, absolutely. It comes from the heart. So we're going to move on now to the sixth condition of a miracle, grounding. And boy, did that play out in my life tenfold yesterday. So I have a question. How many of you would like more energy? Okay. So many times in my own prayer journal, I write with the Holy Mother as an affirmation for higher energy for myself. So, but what I was referring to was the physical, outside, high power coursing through my body like Superwoman. But what I learned, and now confirmed as I've been working through these conditions of a miracle, is to have an abundant flow of power in our bodies, we must first, of course, have the power from the what? Inside out. Inside out, not from the outside in. So to do that, we must be grounded, not in the physical, but rather in the metaphysical. This is the power where miraculous things happen. So metaphysical power and physical power, however, have the same laws. So here's a question. If you wanted a large amount of electricity to flow through your body, what would you have to do?
Get tased.
Stick your finger in a socket. Exactly.
That's it, stick your finger in a socket, right? If you wanted that energy, that electricity energy to flow through you. So what would you have to do to not let this happen? You have to be grounded, right? Rubber boots or something. So this is about all of life, right? You have to be grounded. You have to have the outside physical world work for you. And to do that, you have to have your inside consciousness. It must be grounded with the laws of nature. Because the law of nature is what rules our life. That energy out there, electricity is a law of nature. And gravity is a law of nature. When it comes to your creator, in your head, in my head, we believe it, but there's like that little part that says, could this be true? Yeah, it could be. It is. I proved it. So when you have the law of nature, here's what you have to know. The energy that supplies the power of miracle moves the same way as the energy of electrical energy. So if you want the spirit or creator or Holy Mother to be working through you, then you have to be grounded and be open to allow that to happen. And it's the same thing going back to giving. So if I'm like this and I'm hoarding and I'm holding on and I am saying I want, what's happening? Right? Nothing's coming in, exactly. But if I'm continually giving, then there's this circle of energy that's going. Nature abhors a vacuum and more comes in. That's why I keep giving away bags of clothes. Look how many more keep coming in. No. I'm trying hard to work through that. Maximizing my closet space so there's more hangers. All right, I digress here. So going back to the Arabic translation of the passage then from the Bible, from Matthew, think about this for a minute. So Jesus said in the New Translation, told everybody to sit down on the grass. So I have a question for you. How do you sit down on the grass in the desert? Well, that would be a little difficult, right? So if they take it further, metaphysically further, it's about the garden. And then when you go even further, the Garden of Eden being grounded. And that's what Jesus is saying. It's that you need to be grounded. Sit down on the grass. And he said that just before the food was shared. But why? Why did Jesus want the people down?
Because they ain't running around.
Well, that's one way, but you know the answer to that one, Martin. Because Jesus knew the degree of energy can only flow out of him to the people if they were grounded. If they were grounded. It is amazing. I wish that I was 21 and could study Hebrew and Arabic and Greek so that I could really take all these words apart and get more of the meanings, but I'll just work with what I have for now. But so we know that in nature that the flow goes to what? The lowest point, right? It goes to the lowest point. Water flows from the lowest point. So do you remember the story of the farmer who was afraid of the drought? Remember, he dammed up everything to save water because he was so afraid he wasn't going to have water. So what did he do? He dammed up his pond and it became stagnant because he stopped what?
The flow.
He stopped the flow, absolutely. So fear and anxiety, which of course are the causes of all the droughts in our life, would that not be true? Mm-hmm. Right? So the fear and anxiety forms the dams that block our flow. And in fact, this is our obsession with the future. We get so worried, I get so worried sometimes about what's going to happen that I start blocking the present moment. I'm not living in the moment because what if, or who moved my church? What's going to happen with the next thing, So I moved the church instead. That's what we were doing. The prayer circle moved all these chairs. Thank you, prayer circle, on Wednesday. It's like, who moved my church? And I go, well, let's move things. See, create energy. So I opened up to the flow and said, what is it that needs to be done? And I said, we need to get together. We need to be down here. And these great women, and they just started moving chairs, and Sandy and I watched because we're not the best chair movers in the world. But the other group, oh, they were great.
And Jules gets a kick out of it.
Yeah. So we know that if we hold on tight, we're not grounded. When sometimes you want to give a little more, and then you go, but then you walk away and you don't have a real good feeling, that's when you give more. It's just like in public speaking, or if someone want you to come up and speak, and then you're thinking, I can't do that, I got all these butterflies in my stomach and butterflies in my stomach. That's when you're supposed to speak, because that's the universe giving you energy and bubbling up to say, you need to say what's on your mind. Little thing left over from Toastmasters. So here's what we know. If we hold on to resentment, anger, hate, etc., we cannot be grounded. And if we're not grounded, the flow of energy is dammed up within us, and it can't flow. This is where we give up, or we become cynical, or we become complacent. Do this long enough, and this is where depression and illness sets in. Because you have a heart chakra in here, and if you're damming up your energy, your heart's not getting the flow of love that it needs. So grounding then is an active connection, a high point to a low point, so the process of flow can take place. It's that simple. It's that simple. Grounding can be used to increase the flow of any kind of energy, and it's a vital part of the miracle work, as Jules does. And this is what this whole thing is about. It's about becoming a miracle worker. Remember the story when Jesus was walking through the crowd and he felt this huge amount of energy pulled from his body, and he turned around and said, who touched my robe? You remember that story? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we knew that there was a very sick woman there, right? And she just reached out and touched the hem of Jesus' robe. The point of the story was she was so grounded in her faith that she pulled the energy from Jesus. Her faith grounded her. Her belief opened her to receive the flow of energy. In this, then, we realize that all ideas, all truths, come from that divine idea, and that divine idea is the embodiment of Jesus. That's all it is. So how did she do that? We're talking about energy. How did she do that? Have you ever said to one of your friends, that person sucks the very life out of me?
Yeah.
What is it? It's the same thing. We have power, and we can use it for the good or for the not good. Do you ever walk into a room and go, oh my God, something is wrong in here, the energy. When I walked in these doors the first time, when Mary Ellen and Tom brought me right from the airport to those doors, and I walked in and stood here and went, God, I love this place. And people in real estate understand that too. So we have the ability to impart energy to people, to love with that energy that is rebounding all over, or we can suck the life out of people, and this is what we don't want to do. And we have the right to choose our friends, but we also have the right to bless everybody and let them go on their way. So if there's an energy force like this within your life, you need to look at that. It's not healthy. You need to look at it. It doesn't mean you attack that person. It doesn't mean you particularly argue with that person. It means you have to keep your space. You have to keep your space, and you have to have enough confidence and self-worth within yourself to do that. Because this power is always there. The key is pull your energy from your source, your creator, your whatever is your word for God. You know, for me, it's Holy Mother, you know that. Pull your energy there, and if you pull that energy within, then you will keep the energy flowing in your life. It's that simple and that difficult. You have to ground yourself at spirit level. So how do you do that? You go back to the first emptiness. Get still, get quiet, go within. That's what you have to do. I woke up this morning and I said, how am I going to do this? My energy was on the floor. And then you know that I always sit with the river. So fed the cat, had a cup of coffee, sat with the river. And had to let the emptiness come in and release all of last night and bring myself back to center, bring myself back to my creator, bring myself back to walking the talk. Is it easy today? No. But it's important. It's important that in the storm, you stay grounded. In the storm, you stay grounded. Whatever storm, and some storms will come up in all of our lives, but if we can stay grounded in them, then we'll wake up in the present moment. And that's what I had to do this morning, come to the present moment, and I had to not have all this dialogue going on in my head, but I had to be aware that the consciousness, the conscious awareness is actually who and what we are. That conscious awareness, the I am came here today. And we can do that. We can each do that. And it goes to the level of your conviction and the level of the strength of the outcome you want to see. So only then, when we're firmly firmly grounded in the here and now, will we be open to the position to let the flow in. You know what? And here's what you know. You know people that can be under stress, but they're secure and they don't change that much under stress, but they handle the stress? That's what grounded means. It's not that things aren't going to happen, but being grounded means being secure under stress. So think about a tree. Other than a tornado, the roots of that tree must be deep, right? They have to be grounded, and they have to sustain the elements. So the tree has to be flexible. The limbs, so that the limbs don't break, right? There has to be some bend. And it must be open to newness and turn over a new leaf as the seasons change and spring comes. New leaves come, and then the fall, and they turn over a new leaf as they go down. Or they blossom with all their glory. And they keep growing towards what? What do they grow towards?
Sky.
Sky, the light, right? So isn't that what we must do then? Must do the same thing, connect with our roots, be grounded by be our roots family or be our roots friends. I'm grounded right here. I'm grounded within all of you. This is my roots, this is my family, these are my friends. Can we sustain ourselves from storms of drought? Yeah. If we're grounded, we can sustain. Sometimes we have to turn over a new leaf. Is that not true? Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes family or friends say the same thing to you over and over again, and they love you and you love them. You have to kind of think, well, maybe I need to make this little bit of change in my life. right? What part did I play? We all play a part in everything that goes on. So to let life flow through us, we have to be grounded. It means that you're present in your body and you're connected to the earth. And when you're connected to the earth, you're connected to the Creator. You're connected to universal intelligence. You're connected to the truth. You're connected to God. And when you're connected and you're balanced, don't you feel centered and good? That feeling? And it doesn't matter what's going on. And if you're not, you're like a leaf in the wind. It just takes off and goes. And then you're at chance because you don't know where you're going to land. But when you're balanced, no matter what's going on, you decide where you're going to land. So what I want to say to you guys, life is short. My friend Hintisham at 5 o'clock in the afternoon was outside telling his neighbor he was coming at 9:30 for coffee this morning. Life changes on a dime. So it's time to take off your shoes and walk in the puddles and get out in the rain and move and slow down and honor each other. And if there's somebody in here you love and you never tell them you love them, tell them you love them. Tell people that you love them. Care, share. Be grounded in the truth. Don't be embarrassed. Well, I can't say that. Yeah, you can say it. A girl can say it to a guy, and a guy can say it to a girl, and it means I love you, I care about you, you're part of who and I. We are one, we're connected. That's all it means. All these people like, who should say, well, I love you first? Oh my God. God loves you. The I Am loves you. I love you. So get out, my good friends. Get out, smell the roses, and let nature be your teacher and how to live in the flow. And so ends the lesson, and as my friend Sue says, that's just the way it is. And let's get out of your seats and let's stand and say, we're standing in the middle of a miracle. Standing in the middle of a miracle, standing in the middle of a miracle, standing in the middle of a miracle right now. Funny how it happens when your heart is full, anything and everything is possible. Standing in the middle of a miracle right now. I had walked through the desert, I have cried through the night, spent my life wearing blinders, could not see the light. And one day I surrendered, and I fell to my knees, heard a whisper that was magic in everything you see. And you're standing in the middle of a miracle, standing in the middle of a miracle, standing in the middle of a miracle right now. Funny how it happens when your heart is full, anything and everything is possible. Standing in the middle of a miracle right now. We beg thee like we're horrors, when in fact our lives are rich. It's like sitting in the darkness, not knowing there's a switch. And we're standing in the middle of a miracle, standing in the middle of a miracle, standing in the middle of a miracle right now. Funny how it happens when your heart is full, anything and everything is possible. Standing in the middle of a miracle right now. This sacred journey from light to
standing in the middle of a miracle right now. Funny how it happens when your heart is full. Anything and everything is possible. You're standing in the middle of a miracle right now. Oh, we're standing in the middle of a miracle. Standing in the middle of a miracle. Standing in the middle of a miracle right now. Funny how it happens when your heart is full. Anything and everything is possible. Standing in the middle of a miracle right now. Standing in the middle of a miracle.
That is the most perfect song, isn't it?
I like it.
We're still working to find live music, but in the interim, we're doing the best we can, and it's all good and it's all God. The gentleman that I was telling you about last week, what's his name, Steve Pranger, he can't sing for us on Sundays because he's Russian Orthodox, and their grandparents, and they're bringing up their grandchildren, and they do church on Sunday, but he is coming to our church picnic, and he'll be playing for us for 2 hours, so that'll be a good thing. Okay, let's do our offertory prayer. The love of God inspires me to give in a spirit of generosity. I give with love and joy to ensure the growth of this ministry and this community center. And so it is. Thank you, God. And for those of you who are new in here, we don't do passing the basket. We just have one in the back. And if you're so kind, you can leave your love offering when you come in and when you leave. Also, you guys out there, thank you for the checks and PayPal that are coming in. However, there's 90 of you out there. We're not getting 90 checks. So just in case my talk stirred a little something, all checks are welcome, and they go out to benefit this community. We tithe 10% of all that comes in, and we support Safe Harbor, and we support the Salvation Army, and we support Habitat, and the Red Cross, and various other, besides supporting Unity Worldwide Ministries. So the more that comes in, the more that we're able to do working out there, and the gifts that we do for food, for Thanksgiving, and all of the gifts that we do for Christmas, all of that comes from the donations that come in. So thank you all, and thank you all out in La La Land. So, announcements. Okay, we have a lot of, some of you saw this today, Unforgettable Evening with Louie and Vita. Diane was so kind to make these. They are doing singing for the, how do you say that? Equine. It's the Student Coaching Association invites you to an event with them. I am going, so if we want to pull together, find a way to go together, let's talk about that. We could meet here and do that, but we're going to do that. So if you haven't gotten this, ask Diane. Diane, raise your hand. Ask Diane, and I guess she has more, or she can bring more. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, this is kind of funny. So on the back table, there's address for the Mickelsons and for Kay, who haven't been here in a while, that you could send them a card and say you miss them. But they're here, so you can go tell them you miss them, or you can pick up their address and send them a card.
Just send me cards.
But the point is, we love you and we missed you. So the address, and Kay is having some problems within her home and with her landlord and things, and she can't leave Vern alone and so on and so forth. So yeah, we miss her in Prayer Circle, and we miss her. So let's get some cards out to her too, and I'm sure she would appreciate that. Okay, thank you today for Martin, Tom Kloiber for our gap filler, Ruth, who's filling in for Ruth? I guess Mary Ellen's filling in for Ruth today. Thank you very much for that. Also, do we have it on here? No. It is also Josh's last day. Josh leaves next Sunday for college. God bless you. you don't know, has been with us faithfully for 2.5 years. For a teenager, that's a big, a big loyal thing there. Shows up on time and shoots out the door the second he can get away from us. But we love him, and he's promised to come back and visit us. And God bless you on your new journey into adulthood. We love you, Josh.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So a big thank you. You know, ownership comes with being connected to your spiritual community. And how you knew that people have ownership is after prayer circle on Sunday, I see Patty Dolan with a bucket and a ring, and I'm like, what are you doing? She goes, our sign outside is dirty. I'm gonna wash it. Yeah. And a few weeks ago, Ruth Manson, she's not here today, but Ruth Manson was in the shed and she just decided it was disgraceful. And so she cleaned the shed. So any of you who go in there, and she said there's things that need to be thrown away. Those of you who go in the shed and see something that needs to be thrown away, throw it in the dumpster, buckets and old signs and things, but she cleaned the whole shed by herself. Jules on Thursday washed the whole front of the building and the steps, so all of the bugs and spiders and things. Thank you. Thank you for seeing these things. Thank you for doing and we have John, Mark, and Danny, and Tom, who, you know, every third week cut the grass. I mean, we're a small community, but we give. See how much we give, and we give with our heart, and it's just wonderful. So I'm overwhelmed by you. Pam, I understand you want to make an announcement, or do you want me to make it for you?
Here, either way, that's fine.
I'll make it. Okay. So Unity World Day of Prayer. Be sure to fill out your prayer requests by August 31st, so we have time to send them to Silent Unity. So in the back are prayer requests on the table. You write them and you give them to you to us, the office. Where do you
Well,
want?
I'll send them to Jules, so
Okay.
either way.
Okay, so get them to Jules and Jules will get them to Pam. Pam is heading that up. Of course, she does that every single year, heads up the Unity World Day of Prayer. And they can be put in the prayer box when complete. And what happens for those of you that are new is that day we have sign-up sheets and people come in for a half hour at a time and just hold the space for the prayer that's going on throughout the whole Unity world.
I think this year we're gonna live stream from Unity.
We're gonna, yeah.
Yeah, so all day live streaming then will be on there for what's going on at Unity as well.
Yes, it's in, yeah.
So.
Just speakers.
Okay, annual picnic. May I ask if we could have like a 15-minute meeting right after we go off air to talk about that, because there's about this much to talk about. Okay, this much. And so we don't have to do that now. Okay, we'll do that? Yeah, yes, okay. T-shirts. Wouldn't it be great if we all wore T-shirts for the picnic? So I brought the T-shirts from downstairs in the bookstore upstairs. We have 3 extra large, we have 3 large, and we have 3 medium. Again, they're at $18. That's what they cost us. We don't make any money on them. So if you want to be dressed in your Unity shirt, they're up there. Okay. Men's Fellowship meets August 14th. Circle of Friends Women's Fellowship meets August 21st. And I believe, Julius, did I miss anything? Anybody have anything they need to say, share, want, anything? We're good? We're good, okay. Alrighty then, let's stand for our closing song and His Spirit.
I want to thank you, Spirit, for everything you do. I want to thank you, Spirit, for making dreams come true. Turn the darkness from the eyes, the skies are bright and blue. I want to thank you, Spirit, for everything you do. I want to thank you, Spirit, for taking care of me. I want to thank you, Spirit, for teaching me to see the world is beautiful and how I must agree. I want to thank you, Spirit, for taking care of me. I know in my heart that the perfect time is now to lose all my fears, and the Spirit always shows me how. I want to thank you, Spirit, for showing me the way. I want to thank you, Spirit, for turning night to day. I want to thank you, some joyfulness, and I intend to gain. I want to thank you, Spirit, for showing me the way. I want to thank you, Spirit, for helping me to feel. I want to thank you, Spirit, for showing me what to do. I never knew such happiness to be the way I feel. I want to thank you, Spirit, for helping me to heal. I felt in the past that my every chance was gone. But the Spirit is hope, and I know for sure that I was wrong. Look around, sing a song, thank you, Spirit, for everything you do. I want to thank you, Spirit, for making dreams come true. The dark and stormy nights and skies of bright blue. I want to thank you, Spirit. I want to thank you, Spirit. I want to thank you, Spirit, for everything you do.
The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And as we leave here today, we just leave with celebration of life, celebration of each other, just feeling the love, the energy that pours through each one's heart throughout this entire sanctuary. And we ask for special prayers for my neighbors, for Hittisham as he's now with his Creator, and his wife Delilah, and his sons and their grandchildren. We just know that there's a time for each season, a time to be born and a time to die. But it doesn't take away the people that are left, that hearts are breaking. So we keep them in prayer, we send them love, and know that there is a healing Creator that will surround and wrap his arms around them. So we just say thank you. I say thank you. And for this and for so much more, we're ever grateful. And together we say,
and so it is. Amen.
It is done. I want to thank you all. If you would just stay, if you can, that would be great. And thank you all on live streaming. You have a good week. Stay well, and God bless.